She hid the Alpha King's twins for 10 years, until they shifted in front of him. Chapter 1. 10 years earlier. Rain hammered the palace windows. Lyra stood alone in the hallway. Cold, hungry, terrified. The servants avoided looking at her. The guards whispered when she passed. Nobody said it directly. They didn't have to. Everyone knew. She was the lowest-ranked Omega in the royal pack. An orphan. A nobody. Someone who should never have been standing inside the Alpha King's palace. Yet there she was, holding a tray of medicine, trying not to tremble. A palace maid opened a door. "The king is inside." Lyra nodded. "Thank you." The maid snorted. "Don't thank me. You won't be here much longer." Then she walked away. Lyra lowered her gaze. The insults no longer hurt. Not like they used to. She entered the room quietly. Alpha King Kale sat near the fireplace. Tall, powerful, unreadable. Even sitting down, he seemed dangerous. His dark eyes lifted briefly. Then returned to the documents in his hands. "Leave the medicine." His voice was calm, cold. Lyra obeyed. Usually that was the end of their interactions. But today something felt different. The room carried tension, heavy tension. Kale looked exhausted. A faint cut marked his jaw. His recent battles along the northern border had nearly killed him. The entire kingdom knew it. Lyra hesitated, then spoke softly. "You should rest." The room fell silent. Kale slowly looked up. Most people feared his stare. Lyra did too. But she forced herself not to look away. "You are giving orders now?" he asked. Her cheeks warmed. "No, Your Majesty." "Then why are you still here?" She swallowed. "Because nobody else will tell you." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe even amusement, for a brief moment. Then it vanished. "Leave." Lyra bowed. "Yes, Your Majesty." As she turned away, Kale suddenly spoke. "Why do you always bring the medicine yourself?" She stopped. Nobody had ever asked. "Because the other servants forget." "They forget?" "They don't like you." The words escaped before she could stop them. Her heart nearly stopped. The king stared, the silence stretched. Then unexpectedly, a corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Almost. "Go." Lyra hurried out. Her pulse raced all the way back to the servants' quarters. She didn't realize someone had been watching. Lady Selene, the future Luna Queen. The woman every noble expected Kale to marry. And the woman who hated Lyra more each day. Selene watched from the shadows. Eyes narrowed. Hands clenched. A maid approached cautiously. "My lady?" Selene didn't look away. "How long has she been visiting him?" "Several months." Selene's jaw tightened. "And nobody told me?" "We thought she was only delivering medicine." Selene smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Find out everything." That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. Rain tapped against the roof. The tiny room felt colder than usual. She placed a hand over her stomach. A strange habit, one she couldn't explain. For weeks she had felt different. Tired, dizzy, hungry. She told herself it was stress. Nothing more. Yet deep inside, a quiet fear was growing. A knock interrupted her thoughts. 3 quick knocks. Lyra frowned. Nobody visited her, especially not after midnight. She opened the door carefully. An elderly healer stood outside. "Come quickly." Lyra blinked. What happened? The king was injured. Fear shot through her. Injured? The wound reopened. Lyra grabbed her cloak immediately. The healer nodded. "Follow me." Minutes later they reached the royal wing. Guards rushed through hallways. Doctors argued. Chaos filled the palace. Inside the king's chamber, Kale sat on the edge of the bed. Blood stained his shirt. His face looked pale. The healers worked frantically, but something wasn't right. Lyra could feel it. The king's wolf was unstable, agitated, dangerously agitated. One healer cursed, "The poison is spreading." Another shook his head. "The antidote isn't working." Kale's expression darkened. "I don't need panic." "No, Your Majesty." The healers stepped back, defeated. Then the elderly healer looked at Lyra. Try. Every head turned. Lyra froze. Me? The healer nodded. You have the gift. Lyra's stomach dropped. No. She had hidden that ability her entire life. Very few people knew. She could ease pain. Nothing more. Or so she believed. Please, the healer whispered. Kale watched silently, waiting. Finally, Lyra stepped forward. Her hands trembled. She touched the king's arm. Warmth spread instantly. A strange silver glow appeared beneath her skin. The room went silent. The poison markings began fading. Slowly, then faster. The healers gasped. Kale's eyes widened. And for the first time, the Alpha King looked genuinely shocked. Minutes later, the poison was gone. And completely gone. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The room felt frozen. Then Kale stood. Healthy. Strong. Impossible. His gaze locked onto Lyra. What are you? The question pierced her chest. Not who. What? Lyra stepped back. Fear replacing relief. I don't know. But that wasn't entirely true. Because deep down, she had always known she was different. And now everyone else knew too, including Lady Selene, who had been secretly watching from the doorway and whose face had just turned white with fury. The next morning, the entire palace was talking about Lyra, and before sunset, someone would accuse her of committing a crime punishable by death. Chapter 2. Lyra knew something was wrong the moment she entered the dining hall. Conversations stopped. Heads turned. Whispers followed her. The warmth she had felt after saving the king vanished instantly. Fear returned, cold and sharp. She lowered her eyes and continued walking. A servant she had known for years moved away from her, as if she carried a disease. Another crossed herself for protection. Lyra's stomach tightened. What happened? She whispered. Nobody answered. At the far end of the hall, 2 guards appeared. Their faces were grim. Lyra. Her heart skipped. Yes? You are ordered to appear before the royal council. The room became silent. Completely silent. Every servant stared. Nobody looked surprised. Which meant they already knew something she didn't. Lyra swallowed. What for? The guards exchanged a glance. Then one answered. Charges have been filed against you. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. Charges? Move. Fear crawled up her spine. She followed them through the palace corridors. Each step felt heavier. Each breath harder. The council chamber doors opened, and Lyra froze. The room was packed. Nobles, council members, royal guards, even healers. At the center stood Alpha King Kale, expression unreadable. Beside him stood Lady Selene, dressed in white, perfect, elegant, victorious. The moment Lyra saw her smile, she understood. This was a trap. A terrible trap. Bring her forward, ordered a council elder. Lyra obeyed. Her hands shook. What crime have I committed? She asked. No one answered immediately. Then Selene stepped forward. I will explain. Of course she would. Selene looked almost sad. A convincing performance. The royal treasury has been robbed. Gasps filled the chamber. Lyra blinked. What? A sacred moonstone is missing. Confusion flooded her. I don't understand. Selene slowly raised a hand and revealed a small velvet pouch. Because it was found among your belongings. The room erupted. Lyra felt her blood drain away. No. Selene opened the pouch. Inside rested a glowing silver stone, one of the kingdom's most protected treasures. Lyra stared in horror. I've never seen that before. You expect us to believe that? A noble shouted. It was planted, Lyra cried. Laughter answered her. Cruel laughter. Nobody believed in Omega over nobles. Nobody. The council elder turned toward Kale. Your Majesty? The king's face remained unreadable. What evidence exists besides the stone? Hope flickered inside Lyra. Kale wasn't condemning her immediately. Selene's smile tightened. A witness. A maid stepped forward. Lyra recognized her instantly. Mira, one of Selene's personal servants. The maid bowed dramatically. I saw Lyra leaving the treasury wing. Lie? A complete lie. I wasn't there, Lyra said. You were. No, you were. The maid never even blinked. The lie had been rehearsed. Prepared. Planned. Lyra suddenly understood. Celine had been waiting for an opportunity. The moment the king noticed Lyra, the moment Lyra became a threat, everything had changed. You're lying, Lyra whispered. Mira looked away. Guilt flashed briefly across her face, then disappeared. The council elder slammed his staff. Enough! Lyra looked toward Kale. For some reason she expected him to know, expected him to see the truth, expected him to remember she had saved his life. Their eyes met. For one painful second. Then Kale spoke. The evidence is insufficient. Shock swept through the chamber. Celine's face hardened. The elder frowned. Your Majesty, a stolen item and a frightened servant do not prove guilt. Relief nearly brought Lyra to tears, but it lasted only a second. Because Celine suddenly smiled. A strange smile. The kind that appeared when someone already had another weapon. Then perhaps this will help. She held up a folded letter. Lyra frowned. What is that? Celine unfolded it, then began reading aloud. The words struck like knives. A confession. A written confession, admitting theft, signed with Lyra's name. The chamber exploded again. Lyra couldn't breathe. No. Celine continued reading. Every sentence sounded convincing, detailed, specific, devastating. When she finished, the room turned toward Lyra, waiting, judging, condemning. I didn't write that. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Because nobody cared. The letter was all they needed. The elder sighed heavily. Do you deny the signature? Lyra stared. It looked like hers. Exactly like hers. Even she could barely tell the difference. It's forged. The elder looked unconvinced. Kale watched silently. Something troubled his expression. Something uncertain. But uncertainty wasn't enough. Not against evidence. Not against politics. Not against Celine. The council began whispering among themselves. Minutes passed. Then the verdict came. Lyra of the royal pack. The elder's voice echoed through the chamber. You are hereby stripped of palace protection. Her knees weakened. No. You will be exiled immediately. Silence followed. Exile. Not execution, but close enough. An Omega alone beyond the kingdom's borders rarely survived long. Tears burned her eyes. She looked at Kale one final time. Surely he could stop this. Surely he knew something wasn't right. The king remained motionless. Like stone. Like a statue. Like a man carrying responsibilities heavier than truth. And in that moment, something broke inside her. Not because she was being exiled. Not because she was losing her home. But because the one person she thought might believe her, didn't. Hours later, rain poured from the sky. Again. As if the heavens enjoyed repeating her misery. Lyra stood outside the palace gates. A small bag rested beside her feet. Everything she owned fit inside it. 10 years of life reduced to a single bundle. The gate slowly opened. She turned once. Just once. The palace stood proudly against the storm. Beautiful, cold, heartless. A place she would never see again. Move along, a guard muttered. Lyra nodded. She took one step, then another, and another, away from the only home she had ever known. The rain soaked her clothes. The road stretched endlessly ahead. Hours passed. Darkness fell. The forest grew thick around her. Her body felt weak, strangely weak. More than stress, more than exhaustion. Pain suddenly twisted through her stomach. Lyra stumbled. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. The pain came again. Stronger. She dropped to one knee. Fear surged. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The world spun. Branches blurred. The rain became distant. Then, a familiar voice echoed inside her memory. An old healer. A woman who had once treated her years ago. You carry a rare bloodline, child. At the time, Lyra hadn't understood. Now, A terrible realization struck her. Her hand trembled as it moved to her stomach. No. Her breath caught. No. Another wave of pain hit, and deep inside her body, she felt it. Not one heartbeat. Two. Lyra's eyes widened. The forest seemed to stop breathing. The rain seemed to freeze. Because suddenly she understood why she had been tired. Why she had been dizzy. Why her healing gift had become stronger. Why she had felt different. She wasn't alone. She was pregnant. And before the shock could settle, a second realization hit even harder. A realization so impossible that terror flooded her veins. There had only ever been one man whose scent had awakened her dormant wolf. One man whose presence affected her soul. One man whose blood could explain the power growing inside her. Alpha King Kale. And somewhere deep within her, the unborn twins suddenly moved. Chapter 3. Lyra sat frozen beneath the storm. Rain soaked her hair. Mud covered her hands. But she barely noticed. Pregnant. The word echoed inside her mind. Again, and again, and again. 2 tiny heartbeats. 2 lives. Growing inside her. Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. She wasn't crying from happiness. She wasn't crying from fear. She was crying because she finally understood. Everything. The strange dreams. The pull she had always felt around Kale. The way her wolf reacted whenever he entered a room. The night everything changed. A night she had tried desperately to forget. Months before her exile. The king's poison had nearly killed him. After she healed him, his wolf became unstable. The royal healers had struggled to calm him. Then, a rare moon fever struck. A dangerous condition that affected powerful alphas. The details were blurry. She remembered being called to help. She remembered the king's wolf becoming uncontrollable. She remembered silver light, pain, heat, and darkness. The healers later claimed the crisis had passed. Nobody explained what happened. Nobody spoke about it again. Neither had Kale. And now, looking back, Lyra realized there had been missing pieces. Too many missing pieces. Her hand rested on her stomach. What happened that night? She whispered. The twins couldn't answer, but somehow she felt they already knew more than she did. A twig snapped nearby. Lyra instantly stood. Fear shot through her. She was alone, pregnant, exiled, and surrounded by wilderness. Another sound came from the trees. Closer this time. Her heart pounded. Then a figure emerged. An old woman. Small. Gray-haired. Wrapped in a dark cloak. Lyra blinked. The woman looked familiar. Very familiar. Then recognition hit. Healer May? The old woman smiled. I wondered how long it would take. Lyra stared. May had disappeared from the royal pack years ago. Some claimed she had died. Others claimed she had gone mad. Yet here she stood, alive, watching, waiting. How did you find me? Lyra asked. May chuckled softly. I wasn't looking for you. She glanced toward Lyra's stomach. I was looking for them. A chill ran through Lyra. What do you mean? May's eyes darkened. The twins. Lyra instinctively stepped back. Protective. Fearful, the old healer raised both hands. I won't hurt them. How do you know about them? May sighed. Because I've been expecting them. The answer made no sense. None at all. Yet something in May's voice felt genuine. The old healer approached slowly. The forest isn't safe tonight. I can manage. No. May's expression hardened. You can't. For the first time, Lyra noticed worry in the woman's face. Real worry. Not for Lyra. For the babies. Then distant howls echoed through the forest. Several. Too many. May cursed under her breath. They found your scent faster than I expected. Lyra's blood turned cold. Who found me? The old healer looked toward the darkness. The hunters. Fear exploded inside her chest. Hunters? They serve powerful packs. May's voice became grim. They collect rare wolves. The twins suddenly moved inside Lyra. As if reacting. As if listening. May noticed. Her face grew pale. They already sensed danger. Lyra clutched her stomach. What are they? The old healer remained silent. Too silent. Then she finally spoke. Something that hasn't existed for hundreds of years. Before Lyra could ask another question, a howl ripped through the trees, much closer. May grabbed her arm. Run! What? Run! They sprinted through the forest. Branches whipped past. Roots twisted beneath their feet. The rain intensified. Behind them came crashing sounds. Footsteps. Many footsteps. The hunters were close. Too close. Lyra's lungs burned. Her legs screamed, but she kept running. For her children. For their future. For survival. A crossbow bolt slammed into a tree beside her head. Wood exploded. Lyra gasped. Another bolt flew. Then another. The hunters weren't trying to capture her. They were trying to stop her. May dragged her downhill. This way! The forest suddenly opened. A steep cliff appeared ahead. Below roared a raging river. Lyra froze. There isn't a path. There doesn't need to be. May pointed downward. Lyra stared in disbelief. You want us to jump? We don't have time. The hunters emerged behind them. 5 men, armed, dangerous. Their leader smiled. There she is. Lyra's stomach tightened. The man's eyes lingered on her abdomen. Far too long. As if he already knew. As if he could smell the children. May stepped in front of Lyra. Protective. Fierce. The hunters laughed. Move aside, old woman. No. The leader sighed. Then die with her. His hand lifted. The hunters raised their weapons. Everything slowed. The rain. The wind. The river. Even time itself. Lyra looked at the cliff. Then at the hunters. Then at May. There was only one choice. One impossible choice. The old healer met her gaze. And nodded. Trust me. Lyra swallowed hard. Then she jumped. The river swallowed her instantly. Ice-cold water crashed over her body. The current dragged her under, spinning, pulling, tearing her away. She fought desperately, one hand covering her stomach, protecting the babies, protecting hope. Darkness closed around her. The river carried her far from the hunters, far from the kingdom, far from the life she had known. And somewhere deep beneath the rushing water, a strange silver glow suddenly surrounded her body. A glow that did not belong to her. A glow that came from the twins, miles away. Inside the royal palace, Alpha King Kale suddenly jerked awake. His eyes snapped open. His wolf roared inside his mind. Violent, desperate, searching. For the first time in years, he felt something impossible. A bond, a connection, a pull so powerful it stole his breath. And it was coming from Lyra, the woman he believed he would never see again. Chapter 4. Kale sat upright in bed. His breathing was uneven. The sensation vanished as quickly as it had appeared, but the impact remained. A bond. Impossible, yet undeniable. His wolf paced restlessly inside him, searching, listening, demanding. For years, his wolf had been silent, controlled, disciplined. Tonight, it felt different. Agitated, awake, hungry for something it had lost. Or someone. A knock sounded at the chamber door. Enter. Commander Ronan stepped inside. The king's most trusted warrior. What happened? Ronan asked. Kale frowned. What do you mean? You released your alpha aura. The king blinked. The room still carried traces of his power, enough to make weaker wolves nervous. He hadn't even realized it. Ronan crossed his arms. You felt something. It wasn't a question. Kale looked toward the rain-covered window. For a long moment he said nothing. Then finally, I felt Lyra. The commander's eyes widened. The exiled Omega? Kale nodded. Impossible. I know. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling. It had felt real. More real than anything he had experienced in years. Ronan hesitated, then spoke carefully. You still think she was innocent? Kale's jaw tightened. The room became silent. Because the answer was obvious. He had never believed the evidence completely. The confession letter had bothered him. The witness testimony had felt rehearsed. But politics had cornered him. The council demanded punishment. The nobles demanded action. The kingdom demanded stability. And Lyra had paid the price. A decision he regretted more each year. Before Cale could answer, another knock interrupted them. A royal messenger rushed inside. "Your Majesty! What is it?" The Northern Patrol discovered something. The messenger looked nervous. Very nervous. "What?" "A hunter camp." Cale frowned. "Hunters?" "Illegal traders." The messenger swallowed. They were carrying records. What kind of records? The young wolf looked down, asking permission to capture a rare bloodline. The room went still. Cale's instincts immediately sharpened. Whose bloodline? The messenger's face turned pale. "We don't know." But the records mentioned a healer. Cale stood instantly. A strange unease gripped him. A healer? Yes. The messenger nodded. And the target was believed to be pregnant. The king's wolf exploded with rage. The reaction shocked everyone, including Cale. The room trembled beneath his aura. Furniture rattled. The messenger nearly collapsed. Cale barely noticed, because one terrifying possibility had just entered his mind. No. Impossible. It couldn't be. Yet the thought refused to leave. What if the hunters were tracking Lyra? What if she had been targeted before her exile? What if someone wanted her gone? The same questions haunted him long after the messenger left, and for the first time in 10 years, Cale ordered a secret investigation into Lyra's disappearance. Meanwhile, far beyond the kingdom's borders, Lyra opened her eyes. Pain shot through her body. Every muscle ached. The riverbank was cold beneath her. For several seconds she couldn't remember where she was. Then everything returned. The hunters. The cliff. The jump. The twins. Her hands immediately moved to her stomach. Relief flooded her when she felt them. Safe. Alive. Still there. A voice spoke nearby. "You survived." Lyra looked up. May sat beside a small fire. Dry, somehow, despite the storm. The old healer smiled faintly. Most wolves would have drowned. Lyra sat up slowly. "My babies. They're fine." The old woman tossed another branch into the flames. "They protected you." Fear mixed with curiosity. "What does that mean?" May studied her carefully. Then, asked a question instead. "Has anyone ever told you who your mother was?" Lyra shook her head. "She died when I was young." "And your father?" "I never knew him." May nodded slowly, as if confirming something. Then she leaned closer. "The twins didn't inherit their power from the king." Lyra froze. Her heartbeat quickened. What power? The silver light. A chill ran through her. She remembered it. The glow beneath the river. The same glow that had healed Cale years ago. May's expression darkened. "Your family carried an ancient gift." "My family?" "The Moonborn line." The words meant nothing to Lyra, but they clearly meant something to May. "Something important. Centuries ago," May continued, "the Moonborn wolves protected the balance between packs." Lyra listened carefully. "Their gifts were rare." "Healing?" May nodded. "And much more." The fire crackled. The old healer stared into the flames. "Their blood could strengthen packs." Lyra frowned. "What does that have to do with my children?" May looked directly into her eyes. "Because the twins carry both bloodlines." The realization hit hard. Moonborn blood. Royal Alpha blood. Combined. Something ancient. Something dangerous. Something valuable. Suddenly the hunters made sense. The fear. The pursuit. Everything. Someone wanted the twins. And if the wrong people discovered them, their lives would never be their own. A distant howl echoed through the mountains. May stood immediately. "We need to move." Lyra's heart sank. "They found us again?" "No." The old healer's face became even more serious. "Worse." "Worse than hunters?" May nodded. "There are wolves who don't hunt for money." The firelight reflected in her eyes. "They hunt for power." Fear crawled up Lyra's spine. "Who are they?" The old healer looked toward the dark horizon. "The Bloodfang Pack." The name alone carried weight. Even Lyra had heard stories. Ancient, cruel, merciless. A pack that disappeared decades ago. Or so everyone believed. I thought they were gone. So did I. May's expression tightened, but someone has awakened them. A cold wind swept through the valley. The twins suddenly moved inside Lyra again. Strong, restless. Almost as if they recognized the name. Then a new scent drifted through the air. Powerful, wild, dangerous. May froze. Her face lost all color. No. What is it? The old healer slowly turned toward the darkness. I know that scent. Branches snapped somewhere beyond the trees. Heavy footsteps followed. Closer. 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 May grabbed Lyra's arm. We have to leave now. But it was already too late. A massive wolf emerged from the shadows. Black fur. Golden eyes. Scars covering its body. The beast was enormous. Far larger than any normal wolf, and hanging from its neck was the symbol of the Bloodfang pack. The creature stared directly at Lyra, then lowered its head. Not in attack, not in submission. Recognition, as if it had finally found the person it had spent years searching for. And when the wolf spoke, its voice sent ice through Lyra's veins. At last. Chapter 5. At last. The giant wolf's voice echoed across the valley. Lyra froze. Every instinct screamed danger. Beside her, May stepped forward, protective, ready to fight. The black wolf studied them calmly. Its golden eyes never left Lyra, especially her stomach. A low growl escaped May. Stay behind me. Lyra obeyed. Fear tightened her chest. The wolf took one slow step closer, then another. It didn't look hostile. That somehow made it worse. Because predators that smiled were often the most dangerous. What do you want? May demanded. The wolf ignored her. Its gaze remained fixed on Lyra. I've searched for years. Lyra's heart pounded. Who are you? The wolf tilted its head, then silver light surrounded its body. Bones shifted. Muscles changed. Seconds later, a man stood where the wolf had been. Tall, broad-shouldered, covered in scars. His dark hair hung to his shoulders. A silver mark crossed one side of his face. His eyes remained golden. Wolf eyes. Dangerous eyes. Yet strangely sad. My name is Darius. May's expression darkened immediately. You should have stayed hidden. Darius sighed. I tried. The answer surprised Lyra. There was regret in his voice. Real regret. Not arrogance. Not cruelty. Something else. Something heavier. Darius looked toward Lyra. You look like her. Lyra frowned. Like who? For a moment, the warrior seemed unable to answer. Pain flickered across his face. Then, your mother. The world stopped. What? May cursed softly. Clearly she hadn't wanted this conversation. Lyra stepped forward. My mother? Darius nodded. You have her eyes. Questions exploded inside Lyra's mind. Hundreds of them. You knew my mother? The warrior looked away. For the first time, the giant wolf seemed uncertain. Then he answered quietly. I loved her. Silence followed. Heavy silence. Even the wind seemed to disappear. Lyra stared, trying to understand, trying to make sense of impossible words. You loved my mother? Yes? May folded her arms. And you failed her. Darius flinched. The reaction did not go unnoticed. Lyra saw it. The guilt, the shame, the pain. Something terrible had happened years ago. Something nobody wanted to discuss. Darius finally looked back at Lyra. Your mother was moonborn. Lyra nodded slowly. May had already revealed that much. But there is more. The warrior's expression hardened. Much more. A terrible feeling settled in Lyra's stomach. She wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. Yet she needed it. Needed the truth. Tell me. Darius glanced toward the mountains, as if searching for courage. Then he spoke. The Moonborn weren't destroyed by war. Lyra listened carefully. They weren't destroyed by disease. The warrior's voice grew darker. They were hunted. A chill spread through her body. Hunted, Darius nodded. Systematically. The fire crackled. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Then he continued. Someone wanted their gifts. Lyra remembered May's words. Healing. Strengthening packs. Rare powers. But suddenly, everything sounded far more dangerous. Who hunted them? Darius's jaw tightened. The royal families. The answer hit like lightning. Lyra's eyes widened. No! It's true. You're lying. The words escaped automatically, because the alternative was too horrifying. The warrior didn't argue, didn't defend himself. Instead, he looked tired. Very tired. The royal packs feared losing control. May remained silent, which frightened Lyra even more, because silence sounded like agreement. Darius continued. They took moonborn children. Lyra felt sick. They forced moonborn healers to serve them. The warrior's voice trembled slightly, and when the bloodline became too powerful, his eyes closed. They eliminated it. The valley became silent. Lyra could barely breathe. This couldn't be true. It couldn't. Yet, every part of Darius seemed genuine. Every word carried pain. Not manipulation, pain, the kind that came from memory. Finally, Lyra asked the question haunting her. My mother. Darius looked away again. That alone gave her the answer. Tears formed instantly. No. The warrior swallowed hard. They killed her. The words shattered something inside her. For years she had imagined answers. Accidents. Illness. Anything. But murder? Never murder. Lyra looked down. Trying not to cry. Trying not to break. The twins shifted gently inside her, almost comforting her, almost reminding her she wasn't alone. Darius noticed. His expression changed immediately. Fear appeared. Pure fear. How far along are you? Lyra blinked. What? The pregnancy? May answered, before she could. Several months. The warrior cursed. A rare moment of panic. What? Darius turned toward the dark mountains. They know. May's face paled. You can't know that. I do. The warrior's voice became urgent. The Bloodfang scouts have been tracking moonborn energy. Lyra frowned. Moonborn energy? Darius pointed toward her stomach. The twins. A terrible realization hit. The silver light? Yes. Fear gripped her throat. The babies were revealing themselves. Without meaning to. Without understanding. The warrior stepped closer. We don't have much time. For what? Darius hesitated, then answered. Before the Bloodfang Alpha finds them. Lyra's stomach tightened. The Alpha wants my children? The warrior nodded. More than anything. Why? Nobody answered immediately. Not May. Not Darius. That silence terrified her. Finally May spoke. Because the Bloodfang Alpha cannot produce heirs. Lyra stared. The old healer's face had become grim. The twins may be the only children capable of inheriting his power. Disgust flooded Lyra. They're children. To him, Darius said quietly. They're a solution. The fire suddenly exploded. A burst of sparks shot into the air. Everyone turned. A strange silver glow was forming around Lyra. Brighter than ever before. The twins were reacting again. Power surged through her body. Warm, ancient, wild, and far away, hundreds of miles away. Alpha King Kale suddenly dropped the document in his hand. The same silver light flashed through his mind. The same strange connection. Stronger now, much stronger. His wolf roared. Not with confusion this time, with certainty. Someone important was alive. Someone connected to him. Someone who needed protection. Kale stood abruptly. Commander Ronan frowned. What happened? The king's voice was barely a whisper. Find her. Ronan blinked. What? Kale looked toward the distant horizon. Toward the mountains. Toward fate itself. Find Lyra. Meanwhile, back at the mountain camp, the silver glow around Lyra continued growing. Brighter. Stronger. Uncontrollable. Then suddenly the light expanded outward. Like a shockwave. racing across forests, across rivers, across kingdoms, and deep within a hidden fortress. A terrifying alpha slowly opened his eyes, a man nobody had seen in years, a man believed to be dead, a man feared even by monsters. The Bloodfang Alpha smiled, because after 10 years of searching, he had finally found the twins. Chapter 6. The Bloodfang. Alpha stood on a stone balcony high above the clouds. Snow whipped around him. Cold winds howled across the mountains. Yet, he barely felt them. His crimson eyes stared into the distance. A smile slowly spread across his face. After 10 years, 10 long years, the search was finally over. The signal came from the south. A warrior bowed behind him. Yes, Alpha. The Bloodfang leader closed his eyes. He could still feel it. The burst of moonborn energy. Pure, ancient, powerful. Exactly what he had been hunting. Prepare the pack. The warrior hesitated. All of them? The Alpha's smile widened. All of them. The warrior immediately lowered his head. Yes, Alpha. Moments later, the fortress exploded with activity. Warriors rushed through hallways. Messengers departed. Weapons were prepared. The hunt had begun. And far below, Lyra had no idea how much danger was now moving toward her. She sat beside the fire, unable to sleep. The twins were restless tonight, more active than ever, almost nervous. May noticed. So do I. Lyra looked up. What? May smiled sadly. I feel it too. Fear lingered inside the camp, heavy and unavoidable. Darius sat nearby, sharpening a blade. His golden eyes remained fixed on the darkness, watching, listening, protecting. Nobody spoke for several minutes. Then Lyra finally broke the silence. Tell me the truth. Darius looked up. The truth about what? The twins. The warrior exchanged a glance with May. Neither seemed eager to answer. That only made Lyra more determined. I deserve to know. May sighed. You're right. The old healer shifted closer to the fire. Her expression became serious. The Moonborn line possessed many gifts. Lyra listened carefully. But one gift was different. A cold feeling settled in her chest. Different how? May hesitated, then answered. It allowed them to recognize soul bonds. Lyra frowned. What does that mean? Darius spoke this time. It means they could identify destined wolves. The answer made little sense. Like mates? Stronger than mates. Lyra blinked. Stronger? She had never heard of such a thing. May nodded. Rarely. The Moonborn could see bonds that shaped entire kingdoms. The fire crackled. The old healer's eyes darkened. Your children inherited that gift. Shock froze Lyra. My children? Darius nodded. The silver light confirms it. Her mind raced. The twins weren't even born yet. How could they possess abilities already? Then another question surfaced. A dangerous question. What about me? May and Darius became very quiet. Too quiet. Finally, the old healer answered. You inherited it too. The world seemed to stop. Lyra stared, then laughed softly. Not because it was funny, because it sounded impossible. If that's true, why don't I know? May looked at her sadly. Because someone blocked it. The smile vanished from Lyra's face. What? Years ago. The old healer's voice lowered. Someone sealed part of your power. Fear returned immediately. Who? Neither answered, and that silence gave her the answer. The royal pack. The palace. Someone there. Someone powerful. Her stomach twisted. How many lies had she lived with? How many truths had been hidden? Before she could ask another question, Darius suddenly stood. Instantly. Every muscle tense. Every instinct alert. May reacted the same way. The firelight flickered across their faces. What is it? Lyra whispered. The warrior drew his sword. We're not alone. Her heartbeat accelerated. The forest had become silent. Completely silent. No birds. No insects. Nothing. Then came the smell. Smoke. Darius cursed. They're here. A second later, flames erupted between the trees. Lyra gasped. Fire spread through the forest. Fast. Too fast. Someone had set multiple traps. The camp was surrounded. War cries echoed through the darkness. Dozens of wolves emerged. Armed. Armored. Bloodfang warriors. May's face turned white. No. Darius grabbed Lyra's arm. We have to move. More warriors appeared. Then more. And more. Far too many. The hunt had arrived. The camp exploded into chaos. Darius shifted instantly. His giant black wolf crashed into the nearest attackers. Bodies flew. Warriors screamed. May unleashed silver energy that knocked enemies backward. But there were too many. Far too many. Lyra stumbled away from the fighting. Fear gripped every breath. The twins moved wildly inside her. As if they understood. As if they knew danger was close. A Bloodfang warrior spotted her. There, several wolves charged. Lyra turned and ran. Branches whipped her face. Smoke burned her lungs. Behind her came growls, footsteps, death. She couldn't outrun them forever. Not pregnant, not exhausted, not alone. A wolf lunged. Its claws nearly reached her. Then a silver blast slammed into the attacker. May appeared beside her. Keep running. What about you? I'll hold them back. No. May smiled gently. The same smile Lyra remembered from childhood. The smile of someone making peace with a decision. Some lives are worth protecting. Fear flooded Lyra. May, go. Another explosion shook the forest. The old healer turned toward the attackers. Silver light surrounded her body, brighter than Lyra had ever seen, almost blinding. Then May whispered something. A prayer. Or perhaps a goodbye. And the forest erupted. A massive wave of silver energy exploded outward. Trees shook. Enemies flew through the air. The ground cracked. The shockwave knocked Lyra off her feet. For several seconds she couldn't hear anything. Couldn't see anything. Only light. Silver light. Then silence. When her vision returned, the battlefield was gone. The fire was gone. And May was gone too. Tears filled Lyra's eyes instantly. No. Darius appeared beside her. Blood covered his shoulder. His breathing was heavy. We have to leave. Lyra looked toward the destruction. May. The warrior's face hardened. She chose this. The words hurt. Because they were true. May had stayed behind, so Lyra could escape. The realization broke her heart. But there was no time to grieve. The Bloodfang warriors were already recovering. More howls echoed through the mountains. The hunt wasn't over. Not even close. Hours later, as dawn approached, Lyra and Darius reached an abandoned stone cabin hidden deep within the mountains. For the first time all night, they stopped moving. Lyra sank onto a chair, exhausted, emotionally shattered. She had lost another person she cared about. Another person who sacrificed everything for her. The pain felt unbearable. Darius remained near the door, guarding, watching. Then suddenly, a sharp pain ripped through Lyra's stomach. She gasped. The sensation was stronger than anything before. Far stronger. Darius spun around. Lyra? Another wave hit. She doubled over. Fear exploded inside her chest. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The twins were only months away from birth. Yet silver light suddenly flooded the cabin. The same light. The moonborn light. Wild. Uncontrolled. Powerful. And within that blinding glow, two tiny voices echoed for the very first time. Not spoken aloud. Not with mouths. Inside Lyra's mind. Inside her soul. One voice was a boy. The other a girl. And together they whispered three terrifying words. He found us. Chapter 7. He found us. The voices echoed inside Lyra's mind. Clear. Real. Impossible. The silver light vanished. The cabin fell silent. Lyra sat frozen. Her hands pressed against her stomach. Her heart hammered wildly. Darius rushed forward. What happened? She could barely speak. The twins. The warrior's face tightened. What about them? They spoke. Silence. Heavy silence. Darius slowly closed his eyes. As if he had feared this moment. As if he had known it was coming. Lyra stared at him. You knew this could happen? The warrior looked away. Not denying it. Not confirming it. Finally he nodded. Yes. Fear mixed with anger. You knew and didn't tell me? Because it shouldn't happen yet. His answer only made things worse. What does that mean? Darius exhaled slowly. The twins are awakening too early. The words chilled her. Awakening? The warrior sat across from her, his expression grave. Moonborn children usually awaken after birth. Lyra listened carefully. Not before. The cabin felt colder with every word. Then why is this happening? Darius hesitated, then answered. Because something is forcing them awake. The answer hit hard. The Bloodfang Alpha, the hunt, the danger. The twins were reacting, protecting themselves, even before they were born. Lyra looked down at her stomach. Fear squeezed her chest. They were still babies, children. Yet the world already wanted something from them, something they never asked for. A loud crash interrupted her thoughts. The cabin shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Darius instantly stood, sword drawn. Another impact followed. Stronger. Closer. Lyra's blood turned cold. No. The warrior moved toward the window, then froze. For the first time since meeting him, true fear appeared in his eyes. They found us. A third impact shattered part of the roof. Wood exploded inward. Lyra jumped. The twins immediately reacted. Silver light flickered beneath her skin. Outside came footsteps, slow, confident, unhurried. Not the footsteps of a hunter, not the footsteps of prey. The footsteps of someone who knew victory was already his. Darius cursed. He came himself. Lyra's stomach tightened. The Bloodfang Alpha. The monster from the stories. The man everyone feared. A shadow appeared beyond the broken doorway. Tall. Broad. Powerful. Then he stepped inside. And the cabin suddenly felt too small. The Alpha looked younger than Lyra expected. Perhaps 35. Dark hair. Sharp features. Crimson eyes. Eyes that seemed almost unnatural. Yet it wasn't his appearance that terrified her. It was the power. The aura. The sheer weight of his presence. The air itself seemed to bend around him. Darius immediately lowered into a defensive stance. The Bloodfang Alpha smiled. Darius, the warrior growled. Malric. So this was him. Malric? The Alpha who had hunted them for years. The Alpha who wanted her children. The Alpha everyone believed was dead. Malric's gaze shifted toward Lyra. The smile widened. There you are. Fear rooted her in place. The way he looked at her wasn't normal. It wasn't hatred. It wasn't anger. It was ownership. As if he had finally recovered something that belonged to him. I've searched a long time. Lyra forced herself to speak. My children are not yours. The Alpha laughed softly, a terrifying sound. Of course not. For a brief second relief flickered. Then he continued. They belong to themselves. The answer surprised her. It surprised Darius too. Malric took another step forward. I have no intention of harming them. Liar, Darius snarled. The Alpha's smile faded slightly. You think too little of me. The warrior's grip tightened on his sword. And you think too highly of yourself. For a moment, it seemed they might attack each other. Instead, Malric looked back at Lyra. Do you know why your mother died? The question struck like lightning. Lyra froze. My mother? Darius immediately stepped forward. Don't listen to him. But it was too late. Because Lyra needed answers. Needed truth. Needed something. Malric's crimson eyes never left hers. The royal families killed many Moonborn. His voice remained calm, controlled. But they didn't kill your mother. Confusion swept through her. What? The Alpha nodded slowly. She was betrayed. The cabin became silent. Darius looked furious, which only made Lyra more suspicious. What are you talking about? Malric pointed toward Darius. Him. The word hit like a weapon. Lyra stared, then looked toward Darius. No. The warrior didn't answer. And that terrified her. No. Her voice broke. No. Darius lowered his gaze. The silence felt endless. Then finally, I never meant for it to happen. The room spun. Lyra felt sick. What? Pain filled the warrior's face. Real pain, the kind impossible to fake. I loved her. The same words he had spoken before, only now they sounded different. Broken, regretful, ashamed. Darius swallowed hard. Your mother and I tried to escape. Lyra listened, unable to breathe. Someone betrayed us. His voice shook. They found us. Tears filled his eyes. I wasn't strong enough. The confession shattered something inside him. Lyra could see it. Years of guilt, years of suffering, years of self-hatred. Then Malric delivered another blow. Tell her the rest. Darius clenched his fists. Stop. Tell her. Stop. Malric's eyes hardened. Tell her you left. The silence that followed felt unbearable. Lyra stared, waiting, praying, begging him to deny it. Instead, Darius whispered, I ran. The words crushed her. No. I thought I could return with help. His voice broke completely. But I was too late. Tears streamed down Lyra's face. The warrior she trusted, the man who protected her, the man who knew her mother. He had abandoned her. Even if only for a moment. Even if he regretted it. The wound remained. Deep. Raw. Painful. The twins suddenly moved violently inside her, reacting to her emotions, reacting to betrayal. Silver light burst throughout the cabin. The walls trembled. Windows shattered. Power exploded outward. Everyone stepped back. Even Malric. For the first time, surprise crossed the Alpha's face. Then something impossible happened. The silver light gathered in front of Lyra, spinning, growing, taking shape. A woman's shape. A familiar shape. Lyra gasped. The image became clearer. Long silver hair, gentle eyes, a warm smile. The room fell silent, because standing before them, made entirely of moonborn light, was Lyra's mother. And her first words changed everything. Kale never rejected you, Lyra. Chapter 8. Kale never rejected you, Lyra. The words echoed through the cabin. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Lyra stared at the glowing figure, her mother's face, her mother's voice, her mother's eyes. Everything felt real. Too real. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Mom? The silver figure smiled gently. The same smile Lyra had imagined 1,000 times throughout her life. My brave girl. Lyra's knees nearly gave out. For years she had dreamed of this moment, yet now that it was happening, she could barely speak. How? The figure looked toward Lyra's stomach. The twins. Understanding slowly dawned. The children. Their power. Their gift. They had somehow awakened a memory. A message. Something left behind long ago. The image began flickering. Unstable. Temporary. Running out of time. Darius stepped forward. Pain filling his eyes. Luna. The woman looked at him. For a brief moment, sadness crossed her face. Then kindness. Always kindness. You still blame yourself. Darius lowered his head. Because he did. Every day, every year, for 10 long years. The silver woman turned toward Lyra again. Listen carefully. The urgency in her voice made everyone tense. There isn't much time. Lyra nodded immediately. Her heart pounded. The image flickered again. The night you were exiled. The woman's expression darkened. You were betrayed. Lyra swallowed hard. I know. No. Her mother's voice became firmer. You don't. The room fell silent. Then came the words that changed everything. Lady Selene forged the evidence. Lyra closed her eyes. Part of her had always known, but hearing confirmation still hurt, still burned, still reopened old wounds. The silver woman continued. She feared you. Why? The answer came immediately. Because Kale chose you. The cabin exploded with shock. Lyra stared. What? Darius looked stunned. Even Malric's eyes narrowed. Her mother's image nodded. The bond formed during the moon fever. Lyra remembered that night. Fragments. Broken memories. Nothing complete. The woman continued. Kale's wolf recognized you. Her voice softened. He chose you. Lyra's heart raced. No, it is true. But he never said anything. Because he never knew. Confusion flooded her. The image flickered violently. The healers erased part of that night. Everyone froze. What? The royal council feared instability. The woman's expression hardened. They feared a Luna from an Omega bloodline. Anger surged through Lyra. The council, the nobles, the lies. Everything suddenly made sense. Her exile, the forged confession, the silence. Someone had stolen 10 years of her life. 10 years. The image began fading faster. The light around it weakened. Lyra stepped forward desperately. No, please stay. Her mother's smile returned. Warm, loving, proud. There is one more truth. The room became silent. Everyone listened. Every word mattered now. The woman looked directly into Lyra's eyes. Then she said something nobody expected. The twins were never hidden from Kale. Confusion swept through the room. What do you mean? The answer came softly. The bond has connected him to them since before they were born. Lyra blinked. The strange connection, the flashes, the instincts, the way Kale kept sensing her. It wasn't random. It was real. The image nodded. He has felt them for years. Then the silver woman looked toward the doorway, toward the mountains, toward something distant, something approaching. And for the first time, fear appeared on her face. They're coming. The words chilled everyone. Who? Lyra asked. The answer was immediate. The ones behind everything. Darius frowned. The council? No. The image shook her head. Someone older. Older. The room grew colder. The woman's gaze shifted toward Malric, for the first time since appearing. You know who they are. The Bloodfang Alpha remained silent. His expression unreadable. The woman continued. You've been fighting them your entire life. Still, Malric said nothing. But his silence spoke volumes. The image flickered again. Nearly gone now. The twins moved inside Lyra, trying to hold the connection together, trying to keep their grandmother there. But it wasn't enough. The woman looked back at Lyra. Pine Hollow. Lyra frowned. What? Find Pine Hollow. The name meant nothing, yet her mother's expression told her everything. It was important. Very important. What is Pine Hollow? The woman smiled sadly. The place where truth survived. Before Lyra could ask another question, the image shattered into silver light. Gone. Just like that, the cabin fell silent. The only sound came from Lyra's breathing. Fast, uneven, emotional. She had finally spoken to her mother. And somehow she now had even more questions. Then Malric broke the silence. I hoped she wouldn't reveal that. Everyone turned toward him. The Alpha looked tired. Unexpectedly tired. What didn't you want revealed? Darius demanded. Malric's crimson eyes lifted. The enemy. A chill ran through the room. Darius frowned. What enemy? The Bloodfang Alpha laughed softly. Not with humor. With disbelief. You still don't understand. His gaze shifted toward Lyra, then her stomach, then back to Darius. The Moonborn weren't hunted for their healing gifts. The room went still. What? Malric stepped toward the fire. For the first time, the arrogance vanished. Only seriousness remained. The Moonborn could identify something. Lyra remembered May's words. Soul bonds. Destiny. Connections. But Malric shook his head. Not just bonds. Fear crept into his voice. Real fear. They could identify kings. Nobody understood. Including Lyra. Malric continued. Every few centuries, a ruler is born. The Alpha stared into the flames. A ruler powerful enough to unite every wolf pack. The room remained silent. Then he looked directly at Lyra. The Moonborn called them crown wolves. A terrible feeling settled in her chest. The Alpha's eyes moved slowly toward her stomach, toward the twins, And suddenly she understood. No. Malric nodded, yes. The words barely escaped his lips. One of your children is a crown wolf. Before anyone could react, a deafening roar shook the mountain. The entire cabin trembled. Wood cracked. Stones split. Outside came dozens of howls. Then hundreds. The sound echoed across the valley. Bloodfang wolves, royal wolves, unknown wolves, all converging, all arriving at once. Lifer. Darius rushed to the window. His face turned pale. What is it? Lyra asked. The warrior looked back at her, fear filling his eyes. The kind of fear that only appeared before disaster. They found us. Malric stepped beside him. Then even the Bloodfang Alpha's expression darkened. Because marching through the valley below was an army, and at its center rode a woman Lyra recognized instantly, Lady Selene, the woman responsible for destroying her life, and standing beside her was a silver-haired elder carrying a black staff. The moment Malric saw him, the Bloodfang Alpha whispered a name he hadn't spoken in years. The Shadow Keeper. The old man slowly lifted his head and smiled directly at Lyra, as if he had been searching for her all along. Chapter 9. The Shadow Keeper smiled, and every wolf in the cabin felt it. Not physically, spiritually, like ice sliding through their bones. Lyra had never seen the old man before, yet something about him felt familiar. Wrong, ancient, dangerous. The silver-haired elder stood calmly at the center of the army. His black staff rested against the ground. Dozens of warriors surrounded him, yet nobody seemed to be protecting him. Instead, they seemed afraid of him, even Lady Selene. The sight made Lyra's stomach twist. Selene was standing beside him, not as an ally, as a servant. The realization shocked her. For years, Lyra had believed Selene was the mastermind, the architect of her suffering, the woman who destroyed her life. Now she understood. Selene had never been the true enemy. She had merely been a tool, a willing tool, but still a tool. Darius cursed beneath his breath. This is bad. Malric didn't answer. His crimson eyes remained fixed on the old man. A rare tension filled his face. Lyra noticed. And that frightened her more than anything, because Malric feared almost nothing, yet he feared the Shadow Keeper. Who is he? Lyra whispered. The Bloodfang Alpha answered immediately. The reason your mother died. The words struck hard. The reason, not a reason. The reason. Outside, the army continued approaching. Hundreds of wolves, perhaps thousands. Far too many to fight. Far too many to escape. The mountain itself seemed surrounded. Darius tightened his grip on his sword. We're trapped. Malric shook his head. Not yet. Then he looked toward Lyra, toward the twins, toward destiny itself, and asked a question. Do you trust me? The timing almost made her laugh. Trust him? The man who had hunted her? The man whose arrival had terrified her? Yet somehow, after everything she had learned, she understood something important. Malric never wanted the twins for himself. He wanted to protect them. The realization felt strange, unexpected, but real. Before she could answer, a voice echoed across the valley. The Shadow Keeper, Lyra. The sound carried impossible distance, yet reached them perfectly. Come outside. The old man smiled. As your mother once did. Rage flashed through Lyra. Her mother hadn't come willingly. She knew that now. The Shadow Keeper tapped his staff against the ground. Once, the mountain trembled. Twice, the cabin walls cracked. 3 times, the front door exploded inward. Wood shattered everywhere. The enemy had arrived. There was no more hiding, no more waiting, no more running. The final confrontation had begun. Minutes later, Lyra stood outside. Cold mountain wind whipped through her hair. The armies stretched across the valley. An ocean of wolves. An ocean of power. An ocean of death. Yet the Shadow Keeper only looked at her. Nobody else. Just her. His pale eyes studied her carefully. Then he smiled. You resemble your mother. The words made Lyra sick. Don't speak about her. The old man chuckled. Still protective. Rage burned inside her. Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. The Shadow Keeper tilted his head. Why what? Why destroy our lives? The valley became silent. Everyone listened. Even the wolves. Even the wind. The old man sighed, almost sadly. Because your family threatened the future. Lyra stared. My family healed people. No. The Shadow Keeper's smile vanished. They revealed truth. The answer confused many, but not Malric, not Darius, and not the old man himself. The Shadow Keeper pointed toward Lyra's stomach. The crown wolf cannot exist. A chill ran through her. You mean my child? Yes. The old man's voice remained calm, terrifyingly calm. For centuries, my order maintained balance. Balance. The word sounded familiar. Wrong. Corrupted. The crown wolves unite packs, he continued. They end wars. Lyra frowned. That's a bad thing? The old man laughed. A genuine laugh. And somehow that was worse. You still think power belongs to good people? The answer made no sense. Until he explained. United packs create powerful kings. The staff tapped the ground again. Powerful kings create powerful kingdoms. Another tap. Powerful kingdoms create change. Another. And change destroys people like me. Understanding swept through the valley. The Shadow Keeper had never protected balance. He protected control. Chaos benefited him. Division benefited him. Conflict benefited him. The Moonborn could identify future leaders, future unifiers, future crown wolves, which meant the Moonborn were a threat, a direct threat, to his influence, to his secrets, to everything he had built. Suddenly, centuries of bloodshed made sense. The old man smiled again. As long as packs remain divided, he spread his arms. They remain predictable. Rage filled Lyra. Not just for herself. Not just for her mother. For every life stolen, every family destroyed, every child hunted. The Shadow Keeper raised his staff. Give me the crown wolf. The valley exploded with growls. Bloodfang wolves stepped forward. Royal wolves stepped forward. Even some of Celine's warriors hesitated. Because suddenly, everyone understood. This was bigger than pack politics. Bigger than rivalries. Bigger than old grudges. This was about the future. Then something unexpected happened. A horn sounded from the northern ridge. Every head turned. Another horn followed. Then another. Then another. Dozens. Hundreds. The sound rolled across the mountains. The Shadow Keeper's smile faded. For the first time, fear appeared. Real fear. A massive army emerged over the ridge. Silver banners. Royal banners. Thousands of warriors. And at their center, a black horse charged forward. The rider leaped from the saddle before it even stopped. Power exploded through the valley. Alpha power. Royal power. Ancient power. Lyra's breath caught. Kale. The Alpha King had arrived. His eyes searched the battlefield desperately. Searching, then finding. Lyra. For a moment, everything else disappeared. The armies. The enemies. The war. Just two people staring across 10 stolen years. Kale looked older. Harder. More scarred. Yet his eyes carried something she had never seen before. Pain. Regret. Relief. The king walked toward her, ignoring everyone else. Ignoring danger. Ignoring the Shadow Keeper. Ignoring the armies. Just walking toward Lyra. When he finally stopped before her, his voice was barely a whisper. You're alive. The words broke something inside her, because she heard the truth. He had searched. He had hoped. He had never forgotten. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Kale's gaze lowered. Toward her stomach, toward the twins. The bond struck him instantly. Everyone felt it. The connection, the certainty, the truth. Kale's eyes widened. The Alpha King staggered backward, as if hit by lightning. Because finally, after 10 years, he understood what his wolf had been trying to tell him. The twins, the connection, the dreams, the pull, the pain. They were his children, and before anyone could react, a voice echoed inside the minds of every wolf in the valley. A young voice, clear, powerful, ancient, one of the twins, the unborn son, and he spoke only 4 words, words that changed everything. I remember him. The entire battlefield froze. Chapter 10. I remember him. The voice echoed across the valley. Inside every mind, inside every soul. Thousands of wolves stood frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The words belonged to a child, an unborn child. Yet they carried impossible power. The mountains themselves seemed to listen. Kale stared at Lyra, then at her stomach. Shock filled his face. Not fear, not confusion. Recognition. The same recognition his wolf had felt for years. The same recognition he had ignored. The same recognition fate had never abandoned. The unborn voice spoke again, this time softer. He protected us. The valley remained silent. Then another voice joined it. A little girl's voice. The twin sister. He tried. Tears filled Lyra's eyes. The twins weren't speaking about today. They were speaking about years ago. Before they were born, before they had names, before anyone knew they existed, they remembered the bond, the connection. The father who had unknowingly reached for them. The father who had never stopped searching. Kale's breathing became uneven. The realization shattered him. 10 years. 10 years stolen. 10 years lost. 10 years he could never recover. The Alpha King slowly dropped to one knee. Not before a throne. Not before an army. Before Lyra. The woman he had failed. The woman he should have protected. The woman whose life had been destroyed by his silence. Every wolf watching the valley stared in disbelief. Kings did not kneel. Alpha Kings especially did not kneel. Yet Kale remained there, his voice rough, filled with regret. I am sorry. No speeches. No excuses. No defenses. Just truth. Raw and painful. Tears slid down Lyra's cheeks. Because for 10 years she had imagined this moment. Imagined anger. Imagined revenge. Imagined accusations. Instead, she saw something unexpected. A broken man. A man carrying guilt. A man who had suffered too. Not the same suffering, but suffering nonetheless. The Shadowkeeper laughed. A cruel sound. How touching. The moment shattered. Reality returned. The enemy remained. The threat remained. The future remained uncertain. The old man lifted his black staff. Dark energy spiraled around it. The air became heavy, dangerous, ancient. I've waited centuries for this bloodline. His pale eyes fixed on Lyra. Then the twins. Hand them over. Nobody moved. Nobody obeyed. The Shadowkeeper sighed. As expected. Then he struck the ground. The valley exploded. Dark energy surged outward like a storm. Warriors flew backward. Trees shattered. The mountain itself groaned. The final battle had begun. Bloodfang wolves charged. Royal wolves charged. The valley erupted into chaos. Steel clashed. Wolves roared. Magic exploded. The sky itself seemed to shake. Kale immediately moved in front of Lyra. Protective. Instinctive. His wolf fully unleashed. Silver energy surrounded him. For the first time, Lyra understood why kingdoms feared him. The Alpha King was terrifying. The Shadowkeeper smiled. Good. The old man raised his staff again. Dark chains erupted from the earth. They shot toward Lyra, toward the twins, toward destiny. Kale intercepted them. The chains wrapped around his arms, his legs, his chest. The king growled. Muscles strained. Power collided. The mountain trembled. Yet more chains emerged. Too many. Far too many. The Shadowkeeper had prepared for this. Prepared for kings. Prepared for armies. Prepared for fate itself. Darius attacked from the side. Malric attacked from the front. Both powerful alphas. Both legendary warriors. Both determined. Yet even together they struggled. The old man was stronger than anyone expected. Stronger than stories. Stronger than nightmares. For a terrifying moment, it seemed impossible. Then Lyra felt it. The twins. Their power. Their courage. Their hope. Warm silver light spread through her body. The familiar moonborn energy. Only now it felt different. Complete. Awakened. Her mother's words echoed in memory. The moonborn reveal truth. Not power. Truth. Suddenly she understood. The Shadowkeeper had hidden behind lies for centuries. Manipulated pacts. Manipulated kings. Manipulated history. Because truth was his greatest enemy. Lyra stepped forward. The silver light intensified. The battlefield slowed. The wind stopped. Even the fighting seemed distant. The Shadowkeeper frowned. For the first time. "What are you doing?" Lyra looked directly into his eyes. Anne spoke from her heart. No more lies. The moonborn light exploded. Not outward. Inward. Into every wolf present. Thousands of memories flooded the valley. Memories hidden for centuries. Stolen truths. Forgotten betrayals. Murdered moonborn families. Manipulated councils. Forged wars. Destroyed alliances. The truth spread like wildfire. Every wolf saw it. Every wolf felt it. Every wolf knew. The Shadowkeeper's empire collapsed in a single moment. His greatest weapon had always been deception, and deception could not survive truth. The old man staggered backward. No. Fear finally entered his voice. Real fear. No. The light intensified. The staff cracked. Dark energy shattered. The Shadowkeeper screamed. Centuries of lies were being exposed. Centuries of power slipping away. And for the first time in his long life, he stood alone. No followers, no secrets, no control, only truth. The staff exploded. Darkness vanished. The old man fell. The battle stopped. Silence swept across the valley. The Shadowkeeper looked smaller now. Older, fragile, defeated. His reign was over. At last. The war ended not with destruction, but with revelation. Exactly as the moonborn intended. Months later, spring arrived. Flowers covered the hills surrounding the royal capital. The kingdom felt different, lighter, healthier, hopeful. The corrupt council had been removed. New alliances formed. Old enemies became partners. The packs slowly united, not through fear, through trust. And in the royal palace, 2 babies laughed. A little boy, a little girl, healthy, strong, beautiful. The twins had finally arrived. The boy had Kale's eyes. The girl had Lyra's smile. Together they filled the palace with life. And chaos. A lot of chaos. Kale pretended to be a fearsome alpha king. The twins ignored him completely, especially his daughter. She had already learned how to command him. Much to everyone's amusement. Lyra stood near the garden window, watching them, smiling. Peace still felt unfamiliar, but she was learning. Slowly. One day at a time. Footsteps approached. Kale. He stopped beside her, not speaking immediately, just standing there, comfortable, present, steady. Like he always should have been. The Alpha King looked toward the children, then toward Lyra. His expression softened. A rare sight. One reserved only for her. "I still owe you 10 years. Lyra smiled. "No." Kale frowned. "No?" She shook her head gently. "You owe me tomorrow." The king stared, then laughed softly, the sound warm and genuine. For the first time in many years, he took her hand. Not because fate demanded it. Not because bonds required it. Because they had earned it. Trust first. Respect first. Love later. Just as it should be. The twins suddenly ran toward them, laughing, happy, safe. A family at last. Kale lifted his daughter. Lyra lifted their son. And together they stepped into the future. Not as an Alpha King. Not as a forgotten Omega. Not as victims of the past. But as a family who survived it. And finally, after 10 years of lies, they got the ending they deserved. The end.